A billionaire's gift of a rare supercar, an act so lavish it literally brought the internet to a halt. That was the story everyone was reading. It was a story that over 47,000 people eagerly liked, shared, and commented on, all of them wanting it to be true. But there's a catch, the part they leave out at the start. None of it was real. There was no car, and the gift never happened. The fallout from the lie, however, was entirely real. You see, while this fabrication about Alex Eala was making the rounds, the actual truth was unfolding on a tennis court in Dubai, inside a stadium packed to the rafters with Filipinos who had journeyed thousands of miles just to see a 20-year-old woman play. And the history she made that day needed no clickbait, no imaginary supercars. Stick around, because the true story of Alex Eala in 2025 and 2026 is far more compelling, emotional, and shareable than any lie a fake Facebook page could dream up. Some types of fame just sneak up on you without any warning. One day you're a rising star battling your way through qualifiers, and the next you wake up to find the internet has cast you as the protagonist in a life that isn't yours. This was precisely Alexandra Eala's reality, and it all began the second she became too good to be overlooked. Let's go back to March of 2025. A 19-year-old from the Philippines ranked 140th in the world gets a wild card entry into the Miami Open. Outside of her home country and the most devoted tennis fans online, no one was really giving her a second look. She was young, had yet to prove herself on this stage, and by any standard metric, she was the underdog. Then she began to win. And not just win, she was dominating. Her first major upset was against Madison, the world's number 5. Next, she took down Świątek, the number 2 ranked player, in what would become one of the year's most shocking victories. As a wild card, she had just scored 2 consecutive wins against top 10 players during her first significant appearance on the main WTA circuit. The whole tennis world stopped what it was doing and paid attention. Though her Miami streak concluded in the semifinals against Jessica Pegula, Eala had already made history as the first player from the Philippines to ever make it to a WTA 1000 semifinal. She'd also cracked the top 100, a milestone no other tennis player from the Philippines, male or female, had achieved in the whole 50-year history of the ranking system. She became the headline. She was the breakout star. There was no doubt she was the most thrilling new talent to come out of Southeast Asia in a generation. And that's when the vultures started to circle. Because when fame explodes like that, especially for a young, charismatic athlete from a nation of over 100 million incredibly devoted fans, you don't just get real supporters. It also draws in a different crowd entirely, the masterminds of fake viral content. These are the clickbait creators, the misinformation mills that are experts at manipulating emotions to make a story go viral. Just weeks after her big moment in Miami, fabricated headlines about her started popping up all over Filipino social media. One story claimed Wilson Sporting Goods had put a $45 million endorsement deal on the table. Another said she was given a special presidential honor by President Marcos. A third claimed she'd donated millions to a children's charity. Not a word of it was true, yet every story spread like crazy, and that led to the tale of the supercar. A Facebook page named Daily Tennis Scoop published a story alleging that Babolat, her actual racket sponsor, presented her with a brand new luxury sports car during a glamorous media event. According to the post, she then took the microphone to refuse the gift, requesting instead that the car's value be donated to support young athletes in the Philippines. The narrative was flawless, almost too good to be true. And after 47,000 likes, it took the fact-checking team at Verifiles to intervene and do what the internet rarely does on its own. Take a closer look. The post was missing a date, a location, and any names of officials involved. The picture of the supposed Babolat executive was a lifted LinkedIn photo of a hotelier from Monaco. Eala is 20 years old, but the article stated she was 19. Babolat never commented. Eala's team said nothing because the entire event was a fabrication. But this is where it gets truly damaging. This story is about so much more than one fake post from an obscure page. This was not an isolated incident. Rappler uncovered a network of at least 5 Facebook pages: Tennis Plus, Tennis Today, Tennis Together, Topspin Central, and Tennis Triumph. They were all working together as a coordinated clickbait ring using Eala's name and likeness to drive traffic to websites saturated with ads. These operations were raking in as much as $40,000 a month, all by capitalizing on the pride and adoration Filipino fans felt for their rising star. They were literally monetizing a nation's heartfelt emotion. And the actual person, the dedicated athlete Alex Eala, was simply being used as the engine for their scheme. She had no control over any of it. But then something happened that no one saw coming. As these fake pages were busy inventing stories about her, Eala herself was quietly constructing her own very real legacy. a legacy that would ultimately dwarf every single one of their made-up headlines. You'll want to see this. Now let's jump ahead to February of 2026. We're at the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships AWTA 1000 tournament, one of the most celebrated events of the regular season on the whole tour. This is the kind of event that draws the world's top talent, a place where careers are forged and shattered, and where legendary moments are created under the bright lights of the Middle East. Alex Eala comes into the Dubai tournament ranked as the world's number 47. Her climb over the preceding 12 months had been nothing short of spectacular. She had captured her first WTA 125 championship in Guadalajara, made it to the finals in Eastbourne, and consistently moved up the rankings. But she hadn't yet cracked the top 40. That was still to come. The events that unfolded next in Dubai are the kind of thing fabricated viral stories can only dream of becoming. In her second match, she goes up against Jasmine Paolini, ranked 7th in the world, a past Dubai champion, and one of the most technically skilled players on the WTA circuit. This was not an easy draw. It was far from a guaranteed victory. This is the type of adversary who shows you precisely how much further you need to climb. Eala wins 6-1-7-6. A commanding first set is followed by a tense, nail-biting tiebreak that gets the entire stadium on its feet. When the final point is won and Eala's fist shoots up into the Dubai night, the Aviation Club Tennis Center doesn't just applaud. It roars because the venue is completely filled with Filipino supporters who traveled there solely to see her perform. During the post-match interview, Eala stops, looks straight into the stands, and changes the language she is speaking. Kaya se oragasal para sakin. She then asks, "How many of you here were praying for me to win?" The sound that erupts from the crowd is simply beyond description. 3 days onward following her 7-5-6-4 victory over Romania's Serrano Casta to advance to the quarterfinals, she becomes the first Filipino player to ever get that far in the tournament's entire 25-year run. In the area where players exit an event takes place that the internet was completely unprepared for. A woman in the audience lifts a handmade sign. Written in simple English with no pretense at all, it says, "Alex, marry my son, please." The tennis letter shares the video. It becomes an instant sensation. Eala's whole reaction, the shock, the smile, the heartfelt way she acknowledges the fans while walking by is perfect. It's completely authentic. Nothing about it was planned. It's the type of genuine moment no public relations team could ever invent and no AI could ever replicate. And it explodes online. It went viral in a way that was complete, authentic, and totally earned. Not because it was manufactured, nor because a content farm in America packaged it with a sensational headline, but simply because it was authentic. A genuine moment with a real person, a real audience, and a simple, handwritten sign. That moment reached further, resonated more powerfully, and held infinitely greater meaning. This is because authenticity eventually finds its true audience. The last year, 2026 in particular, has showered me with an incredible amount of love and focus from fans. It certainly brings its share of difficulties and requires its own set of sacrifices. But in the end, I must keep reminding myself that this is the goal I have dedicated my entire life to achieving. So many people would give anything to be in my shoes. For that reason, I make it a priority every single day to commit everything I have and to be thankful for my circumstances. No professional writer crafted those words. No manufactured clickbait produced that quote. That was Alex Eala, a 20-year-old ranked 47th in the world living in the very center of her dream. Yet there is an element to this story that almost everyone overlooked. While her supporters were celebrating in Dubai, a much more sinister conversation was taking place back in her home country. It's a conversation that shows just how perilous fame can be when it is exploited by the wrong individuals. We need to look closer because this tale warrants more than a superficial glance. The story about the Supercar was not some haphazard bit of online troublemaking. It was a component of a much more structured and deliberate scheme than most people knew. The Nerve, which is Rappler's investigative division, dedicated months to uncovering what it calls a coordinated web of Facebook pages about tennis, all sharing a single primary objective: to cash in on Alex Eala's name. These pages, Tennis Plus, Tennis Today, Tennis Triumph, Tennis Together, and Topspin Central, did not gain their following organically. They were established using advertising funds. 2 of these pages rolled out their initial paid Facebook ad campaigns in March 2025. Which aligned almost perfectly with Eala's Miami performance that launched her onto the world stage. The ads were uncomplicated, showing a collage of tennis athletes with text that read, "If you love tennis, press here." The firms that financed those ads, TIFI LLC and Expedite LLC, were businesses registered in America that sold personalized t-shirts. This was not a passion project. This was a calculated infrastructure. As soon as the pages had gathered a significant base of real tennis followers who were mainly Filipino, they switched from general tennis news to content specifically about Ayala, with each new post growing more extreme and emotionally exploitative. Presidential medals, charitable gifts in the multi-millions $45 million endorsement contracts, and a sports car that was entirely fictitious. Each narrative was designed to provoke a very specific emotional reaction within the Filipino public. Pride, happiness, a sense of national achievement. And with every reader who clicked on the link to the external site, those web pages, which featured a minimum of 20 ads, each made money. Citing similar web data in their report, Rappler found that the biggest of these sites was pulling in up to $40,517 a month. That is a substantial amount of money made entirely by exploiting a 20-year-old athlete who got no compensation and never approved any of it. The pictures featured in these posts were generated by artificial intelligence. One graphic showed a bank check bearing Ayala's name, but the numbers on it were misspelled. The typefaces were inconsistent, and the fingers of the human figures were warped in the classic style of AI-generated images. These weren't even high-quality deceptions. They didn't have to be because the emotional appeal was so powerful and so immediate that it bypassed critical thinking before the user could stop to think and just hit the share button. The Supercar story landed in the hands of Verifyles, a premier fact-checking outlet in the Philippines, via their misinformation hotline. An alert reader had seen the post gaining traction and flagged it for them to investigate. Their finding was decisive. The story was a complete fabrication. The so-called Babalat representative was actually a hotel owner from Monaco. No such event ever took place. Ala was 20 years old, not 19. Furthermore, neither Babalat nor anyone from Ayala's team had released any official comment whatsoever about a car. But this brings us to the real heart of the matter. Why does this continue to happen? What is it about Alex Eala in particular that allows disinformation to travel so quickly and broadly? The answer isn't complex, but it is painful. It takes off because for some people the actual story isn't enough. Or maybe her real story is so exceptional, so truly inspiring, that it creates a demand that certain people are happy to exploit. Filipino fans adore Ayala with a passion that goes beyond simple athletic admiration. It embodies national pride, a collective sense of self, and the profound impact of seeing one of your own succeed on the global stage. That adoration is a beautiful thing, and it is being used as a weapon. Ayala herself has addressed the matter with a quiet grace. "I do my best to ignore a lot of what you might call the negative feedback," she mentioned to journalists at a press event in Manila. When questioned about her mental approach amidst the constant external chatter, the fake articles, the concocted headlines, the clickbait machines, she centered her focus on the one thing she has command over. "My daily routine hasn't changed. I'm putting in just as much work. The drive to work hard has always been there for me." This is not the statement of a person who has been crushed by the whirlwind of noise connected to her name. This is the statement of a person who has already determined that the chatter is not the narrative. She is the narrative. The court is the narrative. The effort is the narrative. Because what Coco Gauff said about Alex Eala after their Dubai quarterfinal match, that was the pivotal moment. That is the one comment that no clickbait operation could ever invent or co-opt. The Dubai quarterfinal clash between Alex Eala and Coco Gauff on February 19, 2026 did not have the outcome Filipino fans were hoping for. Gauff, the world number 4 and a 2-time Grand Slam winner, was simply overpowering on that particular day. The 6-0-6-2 score was a statement. It was clean and efficient. There would be no fairy tale comeback, no heroic effort in the second set, no tense tiebreak to pull the spectators back into the match. For Ayala, it was a lesson, a stark, clear, and unavoidable one, about the distance that still separates her from the level where the sport's absolute top players compete. But what transpired after the match, what was articulated, what was acknowledged, what was truly understood, told a vastly different tale about what Alex Ayala's presence in Dubai truly signified for women's tennis. The Tennis Channel recorded the moment for posterity. In her post-match interview, Coco Gauff looked at the camera and did something completely unforeseen. She gave her thanks to Alex Eala. Not for the game itself, nor for the contest they had on the court. She was thanking her for attracting a new audience to the game. Take a moment to absorb what that signifies. One of the biggest names in women's tennis, a Grand Slam victor, a cultural force in her own sphere, giving public credit to a 20-year-old Filipina for widening the sport's appeal and for making tennis important to a part of the world and a community of people who before her did not feel seen at this elite level. The Tennis Channel shared the video captioning it, "Coco thanks Alex Eala for bringing a new demographic to the sport." It went viral in an instant, and it was far more than just a polite remark. It was a validation of something that was impossible to overlook for anyone inside the Aviation Club Tennis Center that week. The atmosphere in the stands was different, more boisterous, more deeply and personally invested. It was packed with Filipino flags, filled with Filipino chants, and teeming with Filipino supporters who had booked flights to Dubai not to take a holiday but to see Alex Eala. I haven't always been the kind of player who gets scheduled for night sessions on center court. I've been playing this sport for a long time, and I'm quite familiar with playing in front of empty stadiums. I'm still in the earlier part of my professional journey, so I'm just trying to take it all in. She paused for a moment. Ultimately, it generates an incredible atmosphere. That atmosphere, that distinct fusion of a young athlete's meteoric rise and a fan base's extraordinary passion, is what transformed Dubai 2026 from being merely another tour event. It was a cultural phenomenon. It served as proof that tennis, a sport traditionally tied to privilege and Western control, could connect on a primal communal level with a brand new audience. And while fraudulent Facebook pages were busy dreaming up supercars, presidential medals, and $45 million contracts to persuade everyone that Ayala's journey required exaggeration to be compelling, Coco Gauff was on television stating that her authentic story is already reshaping the sport. That is the one aspect the clickbait industry can never replicate because it demands something they are missing: truth. Ayala's ascent from number 140 in the world to number 31 in fewer than 12 months. The first player from the Philippines to crack the top 100, the first to get to a W. TA 1000 semi-final, the first to advance to the Dubai quarterfinals, a title in Guadalajara, a final in Eastbourne, a victory in the main draw of the US Open, an unprecedented achievement for any Filipino player in the Open era. She leaped more than 100 positions in the rankings in a single calendar year. On this very day a year ago, she was ranked 139th. As of February 23, 2026, she holds the rank of number 31 in the world. No invented tales, no images lifted from a Monaco hotelier's LinkedIn account, just a 20-year-old who simply would not quit working. And now for the development that brings this whole saga full circle. Alex Eala's Instagram post following her time in Dubai offers a clear window into her true character, cutting through all the surrounding chatter. Instead of fading into the background after her quarterfinal defeat by Gauff, Alex Eala remained present and vocal. Refusing to let the defeat diminish her, she turned to Instagram and posted that her 3 weeks of battling with love and pride had just concluded there in Dubai. She went on to say that the entire experience, from the competition and atmosphere to the warm welcome and immense support, created memories she would never forget. Let that sink in for a moment. She called it 3 weeks of fighting with love and pride. This wasn't some calculated performance, a public relations maneuver, or a caption engineered for likes, although it certainly garnered them. It was simply a young athlete reflecting on an incredible run in her career, opting to see it with thankfulness instead of regret. To understand why, you have to look at what those 3 weeks really involved from her perspective. She began the Middle East tour ranked at number 47. She battled to the quarterfinals in Abu Dhabi, followed by a swift exit in Qatar. Then came Dubai, where she strung together 4 victories, including consecutive wins over a top 10 player and an experienced professional, to secure a quarterfinal spot in a premier tournament. By the time she departed Dubai, her world ranking had surged to number 31, the most significant climb of any player in the top 50 that week. That's a 16-spot jump and 205 ranking points gained in a single week. And amidst all this professional success, a woman was spotted holding a handmade sign proposing marriage on behalf of her son. The entire internet was instantly captivated by the beautifully chaotic and utterly authentic nature of the moment. This is the very definition of authentic virality, not a contrived media event built on a stolen picture and a non-existent sports car. It is not the work of an orchestrated web of clickbait farms aiming to monetize the emotional devotion of an entire country. Instead, it was a genuine moment filmed on a real person's phone, shared by an actual fan account, and it spread simply because it was profoundly, perfectly, and captivatingly human. The distinction between the fabricated tale and the real one is more than just compelling, it is educational. It illuminates the media environment that athletes like Eala are forced to traverse and underscores the duty fans have when deciding what to circulate versus what to challenge. Every single time someone shares a baseless headline about Alex Eala getting a luxury car, a presidential medal, or a $45 million endorsement, they are not honoring her. They are, in fact, generating revenue for the entities profiting from her identity. They are smothering her actual journey with a flashier, noisier, and completely vacuous substitute. And the genuine story, the verified factual account of a 20-year-old from Manila who climbed 100 ranking spots in a year, who had a Dubai stadium cheering in Tagalog at a tennis match who commanded the public respect of Coco Gauff and who called one of her best career runs 3 weeks of fighting with love and pride. That narrative doesn't require a supercar. It only requires being told truthfully. I had to keep telling myself that I was playing well, Aya recounted when asked about the tense points in her match against Paolini. She added that while she needed to review the tape, she felt she avoided any major blunders during those key moments and that her opponent had rightfully won those points. She said that whenever a chance presented itself, she did her best to be courageous and commit to her shots. Courageous. That was the specific word she selected, and it is the absolutely perfect one. So, what is on the horizon for Alex Eala? And what does her journey reveal about the cost of fame in an age of rampant disinformation? The conclusion to this story may be the most crucial part yet. This is where we arrive. This is the final part. And it has nothing to do with a sports car, a billionaire, or a viral social media post. It never did. It is about the phenomenon that unfolds when a truly singular young talent rises from a nation that has patiently awaited a champion on the highest rungs of global sport. It is about the adoration that envelops such a rise, a pure passionate and collective affection, and the ways that adoration can be exploited by individuals who see it as nothing more than a source of income. It is about the chasm between the reality Alex Eala is actually experiencing and the fiction that certain pockets of the internet have crafted on her behalf. And it is about the decision that every individual following her career has the power to make each day. Alex Eala is at present ranked number 31 in the world. She is 20 years old. Her climb into the top 35 has been faster than almost any other player in the recent annals of the WTA. She is now on her way to Indian Wells for her debut appearance at the tournament, bringing with her momentum, confidence, and a level of deep-run experience in a WTA 1000 event that the majority of players her age have yet to gain. She has 6 wins against top 10 players in her career, along with a WTA title. At every significant milestone, Miami, Dubai, the US Open, the rankings, she has broken new ground. And she has achieved all of this while navigating a media landscape where her name is both a source of profound inspiration and a target for methodical exploitation. Coco Gauff noted that she introduced a whole new audience to the sport. The WTA described her as one of the most swiftly ascending talents in the rankings. The attendance in Dubai demonstrated that Filipino fans will journey across the globe to see her compete. Yet it was Eala herself who offered what ought to be the concluding thought on the matter. This wasn't a disingenuous press release or a fabricated soundbite, but something she genuinely expressed in an interview considering all that had shifted in the preceding 12 months. She acknowledged the huge new level of attention, but felt it was overwhelmingly positive both in how people were perceiving her and in the simple fact that they were seeing her at all. People are finally seeing who she really is, and her true story is already more incredible than any made-up tale about a supercar could ever be. Standing in a Dubai stadium filled with Filipino supporters, she switched to Tagalog mid-interview and asked the crowd how many of them had been praying for her victory. She battled through match points, stared down set points, and withstood the kind of pressure that shatters players twice her age. Following a quarterfinal loss to the world's number 4, she chose to write about love and pride instead of focusing on disappointment. She is not some fictional character in a story designed for clicks. She's a real person building something genuine, one match, one ranking point, and one courageous shot at a time. And the question that we should really consider, the one this entire narrative poses, is this. In an age where a fake story about an athlete can pull in 47,000 likes and tens of thousands of dollars in ad money while the truth quietly rises 100 ranking spots and speaks Tagalog to a crowd in Dubai, which narrative are you going to amplify? Alex Eala never needed a billionaire supercar to capture the world's attention. She needed her racket, a stadium of believers, and her silent, unwavering dedication to the work. The false narrative got the clicks. The true one secured the ranking. And ultimately, as she sits at number 31 in the world with Indian Wells on the horizon, her real story is the one that's truly winning. Be the type of fan that spreads the truth. Be the person who checks the facts before sharing, because Alex Eala's actual journey is already the most powerful sports story emerging from Asia right now. And it needs absolutely no exaggeration. If what you've heard has made you think, and if you believe that true stories deserve more attention than the lies, then hit that subscribe button. We cover women's tennis the way it ought to be covered, with honesty, with depth, and with the genuine respect these athletes have earned. We have new videos every week. You won't want to miss what is coming next.